In the bustling heart of a corporate skyscraper, where power suits and polished shoes define the day, a quiet figure went mostly unnoticed. The janitor, an older man with tired eyes and a gentle smile, moved through the halls, mopping floors and emptying trash cans. To most employees, he was invisible, just a small cog in the massive machine. But to him, every corner of the building carried stories he'd watched unfold, secrets no one else saw. One day, the CEO, a sharp, no-nonsense man known for his relentless ambition, decided to cut costs. He barely glanced at the janitor as he delivered the cold news. His services were no longer needed. No farewell, no thank you, just a dismissal as if the man's years of service meant nothing. The janitor nodded quietly, packed up his belongings and left. But there was something about his calm departure that stayed with the CEO. Days passed, and whispers began circulating. Stories about the janitor's mysterious past and a wealth of knowledge he seemed to possess. A curious email arrived on the CEO's desk, one that would change everything. The message was signed by a name he recognized, a name tied to a figure far more influential than he ever imagined. What he uncovered about the man he dismissed left him frozen in disbelief, and the truth, it would not only shake his company, but force him to question everything he thought he knew about success and humility. As the CEO sat at his desk, the name in the email echoed in his mind. It couldn't be the same person, could it? The janitor he had fired was so unassuming, so ordinary. Yet the name matched, one tied to a wealthy philanthropist whose influence extended across industries. The man in question had once made headlines for his innovation and generosity before suddenly vanishing from the public eye years ago. Why would someone like that be scrubbing floors in his company? The CEO couldn't shake his curiosity. He called his assistant, demanding everything they could find about the former janitor. Hours later, a file landed on his desk. As he flipped through it, disbelief turned to astonishment. The janitor wasn't just any man. He had built an empire of his own decades ago. Businesses, charities, even a few ventures that had shaped the very industry the CEO operated in. And then, out of nowhere, he had walked away from it all. But why? What was he doing working for minimum wage, cleaning floors in someone else's company? The CEO's mind raced. Had the man been testing him, watching him? Was there a deeper reason he'd ended up here? The pieces weren't adding up, and the more the CEO thought about it, the more unsettled he became. Something told him this wasn't a coincidence. It was personal. The CEO couldn't focus. Meetings came and went, but his mind was elsewhere. The image of the janitor, quiet, humble, and almost forgettable, haunted him. How could someone so significant fall so far, and why would they choose to stay hidden? The file didn't answer all his questions, but it painted a strange picture. The man had once owned properties, chaired boards, and even received awards from government officials. Yet, after a series of abrupt decisions, he had sold everything and disappeared from public life. Digging deeper, the CEO discovered something even more troubling. Some of the janitor's past ventures directly overlapped with his own company's success. In fact, one of the patents that his company had built an entire product line on had mysteriously gone unclaimed for years, until his team bought it at a bargain price. Was it possible the janitor had been the original creator? If so, why hadn't he fought for it? Meanwhile, whispers among employees grew louder. A few senior staff members admitted the janitor had once offered them advice, sharp, insightful ideas they had dismissed. It was almost as if he had been quietly observing the company, testing its people, and watching how they operated. The CEO decided he couldn't let it go. He needed answers. But when he reached out to contact the man, he hit a wall. The janitor had vanished, leaving behind only a cryptic note in his old locker. It read, "Success isn't measured by titles, but by the impact we leave behind. Look closer and you'll see the truth." The cryptic note only deepened the mystery, and the CEO couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that he had overlooked something important. He combed through old records, scrutinized every interaction he'd ever had with the janitor. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The man hadn't just been observing, he'd been guiding. Subtle changes in the company, tiny improvements no one had noticed, all traced back to quiet suggestions the janitor had made to employees over the years. The CEO's frustration grew. Why would someone with so much knowledge and power hide in plain sight? And more importantly, what was the truth the note mentioned? Late one night, he found himself pacing his office, replaying every detail of their last conversation. Then he remembered something. The janitor had left behind a set of keys on his final day. One of them didn't belong to the building. It was small, worn, and unlike any key the CEO had seen before. Driven by curiosity, he decided to investigate. After hours of searching, he discovered an old storage room in the basement of the building, one that hadn't been used in years. Inside, he found boxes filled with detailed plans, journals, and sketches. It was a treasure trove of ideas, innovations that could revolutionize industries, and at the center of it all was a faded photo of the janitor, standing next to a man the CEO knew well, his own late father. Heart pounding, the CEO realized this wasn't just a story about a janitor. This was personal, and the secrets hidden in that room would change everything he thought he knew about his company, his family, and himself. The discovery of the photo sent a chill down the CEO's spine. His father, the man he had idolized as the founder of the company, stood beside the janitor, smiling like they were old friends, or perhaps partners. The implications were staggering. Had the janitor played a role in building the very empire he'd been cleaning for years? And if so, why had he stepped into the shadows? As the CEO sifted through the journals, more questions arose. The entries weren't just business plans, they were personal. They detailed conversations with his father, moments of triumph and conflict, and a shared vision of creating something meaningful. But then, halfway through, the tone of the entries shifted. The writing grew colder, filled with frustration and heartbreak. It seemed there had been a falling out, a betrayal. One final entry, written in bold, underlined letters, read, "*I gave everything, only to be erased. *" The CEO's heart raced as he pieced it together. His father had taken credit for ideas that weren't entirely his own. The janitor wasn't just a bystander, he had been part of the foundation, a forgotten architect of the company's success. But why had he returned after all these years? Was it revenge, closure, or something more complicated? Before the CEO could process it all, his phone buzzed. It was an anonymous message. The words were simple but chilling. "You found the past. Now let's see if you're ready for the future." Asterisk. The stakes had never been higher, and the CEO knew this was far from over. The CEO's hands trembled as he read the message. It was clear now. This wasn't just a mystery about the past. The janitor, whoever he truly was, had been orchestrating something much bigger. Driven by equal parts fear and curiosity, the CEO followed the only lead he had, the journals. Among the sketches and plans, he found a map of the building, marked with a spot on the top floor, a location he rarely visited. Late that night, he climbed to the unused executive lounge. At first, it seemed empty, but then he noticed a single envelope on the center table. Inside was a handwritten letter. The janitor had written it as if he'd known the CEO would find it eventually. It confirmed the truth. Decades ago, the janitor and his father had been partners, building the company together. But when success came, greed followed. The father had forced the janitor out, rewriting history to make himself the sole founder. The letter ended with an offer the CEO didn't expect. The janitor didn't want revenge. He wanted the CEO to make things right. He had returned not to destroy the company, but to see if the son had inherited the same ambition and integrity he'd once admired in his younger partner. The anonymous message, that had come from someone else entirely. Just as the CEO felt a sense of resolution, his office phone rang. A lawyer on the line revealed shocking news. The janitor had passed away the day before, leaving the CEO a final gift: the rights to the company's most valuable innovations. But the catch: the CEO could only claim them if he agreed to share ownership with one unexpected partner: the janitor's estranged daughter, who was about to walk into the office. The CEO stared at the door, realizing his journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. As the door opened, a young woman stepped in. Her presence was commanding yet calm, and the resemblance to the janitor was undeniable. She introduced herself, her voice steady, though there was a hint of sadness. She explained that her father had prepared her for this moment, sharing everything about the company's history and his role in building it. He had wanted her to step into the legacy he had been denied, not for revenge, but to honor the values he had once believed the company stood for. The CEO listened intently, the weight of everything crushing down on him. For years, he had built his success on a foundation he thought was unshakable, only to learn it had been constructed on someone else's sacrifice. And now he had a choice: cling to the illusion of his father's legacy, or embrace the truth and create a better one. In the end, he made the decision that would define him. He announced a new partnership, sharing the company's future with the janitor's daughter. Together, they committed to making the business more than just profitable, innovative, ethical, and fair. As he looked out over the city that night, the CEO felt something he hadn't in years: peace. The janitor's quiet lessons had finally been understood, and in that understanding, a new legacy was born.